Hi friends, welcome back. Today I'm going to be showing you how I completely made over this little jewelry box. This jewelry box just screams late 80s, early 90s. I swear I had the same jewelry box when I was a kid. It only cost me $1 at the thrift store. I just had to pick it up and give it new life. I started by taking the glass out of this piece, and you can actually chip these little painted decals off of jewelry boxes. This one was really gross when I took it out, but I'm actually not going to use the glass in this piece, so I set it aside. Maybe I can use it for another project. Here's a little hack. When you're taking the hardware off of any type of project, big or small, you want to label exactly where it went in your piece, on the left side, on the right side, because when you are putting it back together, it matters. So I just stick mine onto that blue painter's tape, label it left and right, and then I remember exactly where it goes when I put it back together. For the next step, I moved on to priming, and I used Boss by Dixie Belle. This will just block any tannins, bleed through that come from the wood. I prime all of my pieces. It just makes the paint go on much better in my opinion, and it gives for a nice smooth finish in the end. So I put 2 coats of this on, and then I let it dry overnight. Next, I gathered all my colors. Look at all these beautiful colors that I'm going to be using for this piece. I don't know if I've ever used this many colors on one piece before. I also used black, which is not pictured here. I will have them all listed down below if you want the specific names of the colors. Everything is by Dixie Belle. Then I'm also using this Sea Spray texture additive, and so I added a little bit of each color onto my palette, and this palette is actually a deviled egg mold, deviled egg tray that I got from the Target dollar spot. It's perfect as a palette. It's plastic and wipes clean very easily, so that's what I use. I'm putting a little of the texture additive into each of the colors, and then I'll just mix them together, and you kind of want like a brownie batter type consistency when you mix them together. Then I got to the fun part. I just took each color and stippled or pounced it all over this piece in random places. This is kind of where that inner child came out. It kind of felt like sponge painting, but I wanted this to have a lot of color and a lot of dimension, be kind of random, and so I just went crazy on it. I did not do the bottom of the piece because I'm doing something a little bit different on that, but this was just a time to have fun. I took each of the colors and just filled the whole piece up. And here is what it looks like dry. This is kind of the crazy phase of this piece. All pieces have a crazy or an ugly phase, and that's where we're at with this one. So next I went over it with black, and I'm actually going to cover up all that pretty color with black, and you will see why in a little bit. Next, I needed something to cover that heart. I had these little wooden cutouts that I had thrifted a long time ago, and one of them just fit perfectly to go behind the heart. I'm going to be decoupaging, and so I needed something firm that I could decoupage onto. So I started by painting just a black base. This is the same Caviar paint color that I used on the box. This will just give a nice overall base color when I decoupage the fabric right on top. I'm also going to be decoupaging a piece of fabric on the bottom, so I put a coat of the Caviar on there as well. Now that that top coat of black paint is dry, we're going to get to the fun part. I take a piece of sandpaper, this is just 220 grit, and lightly I'm going to sand over the whole piece. You don't want to sand too heavy because you do want to leave some of that texture, but just a light sanding will bring through those pretty colors that are hidden underneath. And it's really fun to see it all pop through. This kind of ended up looking like acid wash jeans and those bright colors that they had in the 90s that were so big in the fashion. That was my inspiration for this piece of the box. So it goes along with that whole 90s look of the box, and it will match the fabric that I decoupage really well as well. Then to add a little more dimension and interest to the piece, I took my fan brush and I just barely dipped it into the paint colors that I had used previously. So I started with white, dipped it in, I brushed most of the paint off on a cloth on the side, and then I took the fan brush and just flicked it this way and that all different random places all over the box. I did that with each of the different colors that I'd used previously. And this gives it that kind of splattered paint look that was big in the 90s and goes well with the fashion of that time. Then at the end, I always love adding gilding waxes. I chose this green patina one and a warm gold, and these are really wonderful because they're water-based, so you can use a brush or you can just use your finger to rub it into a piece. They'll help highlight that texture and the corners and the edges, the inside of the heart. I love the patina one because it goes on dark green, but then it dries a light, pretty turquoise color. So I just had fun with this and highlighted the different areas of the box. Okay, here comes the piece that pulls this whole thing together, and it's this beautiful Beauty and the Beast inspired fabric. I got this from Walmart in the clearance section, and it's just so perfect for this little project. Beauty and the Beast is my favorite Disney movie. Let me know what yours is in the comments. And it came out in the 90s, so it just seemed fitting for this box that just has a 90s theme. So I'm going to be putting this fabric in a couple different places. So I started by tracing out the exact size that I would need to go on this little wooden piece that's going to go under the heart. And I needed one for one side and one for the other side, and also a piece for the bottom of the box. To decoupage fabric onto a piece, you can use a lot of different mediums to make it stick. I'm using Dixie Belle's Clear Coat in flat. You could also use Mod Podge or something like that. And basically you're just going to do one solid layer of the decoupage medium, and then you're going to put your fabric on top, and then you'll see that I'm going to use a brayer tool. This tool is crucial for decoupaging. I did not used to have this back in the day when I started decoupaging, and it has made such a difference. You just roll it onto your piece and it gets all the bubbles out. And so I roll it after my first layer of clear coat, and then I put another layer of clear coat on top of the fabric, and then I use the brayer to get all those last bubbles out as well. Then of course we can't forget the hardware. For this hardware I used Rub and Buff in Grecian Gold, and with Rub and Buff it is not water-based, so I recommend doing it with a brush or something, otherwise it's just very hard to get it off your fingers. And I just brushed a layer of that on, and then I actually went over it with the green patina wax as well, just to tie it into the whole piece. To seal the piece, I used Dixie Belle's Clear Coat in Satin, and I did 2 coats of this over the whole piece and let it dry overnight. And you can see that the inside of the box is missing at this point. I decided to reline the box using new velvet. If you would like to know how to do this process, I'm happy to show you. It's very easy to do, but it definitely requires its own video. So let me know in the comments below if you would like me to do another video on how I reline a jewelry box. And here's the final product. This box went from a beast to a beauty, and I just love how it turned out. I really let my inner child loose on this one, and I had a lot of fun with it. So I love that it's a little funky, a little grungy, but also really beautiful. So let me know what you learned, and if there's any other types of videos that you would like to see from me. Thanks for watching, guys.